Hello everyone, my name is Legendary and this game is Rise of Kingdoms. Now today in this video we're gonna talk about top 3 legendary commanders with expertise. So please pay attention because I'm talking about legendary commanders that will be expertise. Now the criteria that I'm gonna choose, these 3 legendaries that I'm gonna advise you, like the top 3 legendaries you want to choose from as your first investment, I'm gonna say them right now. First one is utility. So this is the most important part when you want to invest in a legendary commander, or maybe when you want to invest in a commander in general. You want to think about his utility. That's like the first thing that it should come into your mind. How useful is going to be this commander once I manage to max him out? Because this is going to be valid for both free to play and pay to win. You're probably saying to me, bro, are you crazy? Free to play? When is free to play gonna max out a legendary? Well, it might take you 10 months or less or more, who knows. The free to play, low spender, medium spender, whatsoever. But you want to know, if you choose this path, how useful is gonna be the path that you choose, the legendary that you choose. So I'm gonna debate everything in this video and why I'm advising these 3 commanders. There's gonna be at least 2 honorable mentions, which I'm gonna say at the end, and one of them would actually be number 1, but just because it costs money, I cannot put it number 1, because otherwise I'll have to do a free-to-play version and I'll have to do a pay-to-win version. All the 3 commanders that I chose, they can be obtained as free-to-play and they can be maxed out as free-to-play. So all the 3 commanders that I chose. So these are the top 3 legendaries of my advices. The first one is YSG. He's already in the image. You're probably noticing. He is YSG. This is my first choice, my first advice, and I'm gonna debate it why. The blame would be mostly oriented towards the way the game is going right now, the Lost Kingdom and the Ark of Osiris. And I'm gonna explain when I get to the second one why is that. So YSG. The reason I'm choosing YSG as primary is because of the amount of utility you can have with this commander. So this commander can be your archer, can be your garrison. And by garrison, I don't mean just your city. I mean anywhere. A flag. We all have seen in Lost Kingdom how powerful YSG and the wonders he has done in defense. Either primary or secondary. Mostly he was been using as secondary, but he does a great job even as primary. So the amount of skill damage that he does on his own, it's quite remarkable. Not to mention he has rage restoration with attack bonus on archers by 100% for the next 3 seconds. That's ridiculously high. So he's a very powerful commander, and once you obtain his expertise, because that's what this video is about top 3 expertise legendary, he does a circular area, which pretty much by now most of you, or the majority of you, know what that means. Circular area is exactly what he has around him. So he does damage up to 5 targets in a circular area, which is very nice in AoE farming. How about that? Imagine if you're a free-to-play and you've been used to it, you've mastered the fan shape area of Sansu, or maybe even YSG if you're working on him, and think about it, how godlike is gonna be after a couple of months, or whenever you manage to unlock the expertise of YSG and you do circular area damage. So you're already a pro with the fan shape area and the way of keep chaining the barbarians, and how well you're gonna farm the barbarians once you obtain his expertise. So that's how good he is. And I tell you what, as a free to play, there's always a different commander that I advise in your garrison, because it would give you more tankiness capabilities, but at some point you'll have a lot of troops even as free to play. You'll go over 2 million, in troops as free-to-play. So YSG can also be a very nice addition for your garrison. If you're a free-to-play and people know that you're a free-to-play, even that your powers or your research is going higher or probably even close to max or maxed out at some point, if you bother any T5 player, they just tend to swarm you with 5 marches of T5, knowing that they are so powerful and you know they are just demolishing. But if you have a YSG in defense, he might have a second guess about that. Obviously, if you're not online, your hospital will be filled, then troops will die, so you can have a God mode commander in there. You're still gonna lose your troops, but YSG will definitely gonna punish him for trying to swarm you out. So again, this is my first option, and if I would have to, let's say, start over, he will probably be the first commander I'm gonna invest my universal sculptures. Even as free-to-play, I still recommend working on one legendary commander at a time rather than going 5-1-1 on a lot of commanders or 5-5 like some people like to do. That means you don't have patience. This is strategy game. With strategy game, you need patience. If you don't spend the money, then you need to spend time and you need to be patient. Now let's go to the next legendary, and as I mentioned, I'm gonna explain in this one why YSG was the first option. So the second option is Richard I. Now, why am I putting Richard I as a second option? That's because of Lost Kingdom and Ark of Osiris, and you're probably wondering, what do you mean by that? Well, the amount of bonuses the amount of bonuses that troops get in the Lost Kingdom, and I'm talking about attack, defense, health, all damage and all that. So that's the first reason. The second reason is Ark of Osiris. What is the first buff that you see when you log in on your Ark of Osiris? And I'm talking about this Ark of Osiris buff. All damage increased by 100%. That's because they don't want the games to end up and Richard and Charles still fighting Richard and Charles. So obviously it's all damage increase, which powers up the skill. It doesn't power up the infantry. So the usual defense, the usual infantry defense, or the usual infantry defensive setup is Richard and Charles, or Charles and Richard. Doesn't matter which order you actually put them. So everybody knows they are like a turtle. They are very, very defensive. You're very, very powerful in defense, and you have healing, because Richard is the best healer in the game there is at the moment. He has the strongest healing factor that he can do, because he is his active skill. So it's something that happens every time when the rage bar is being filled up. So that's the main problem. They increase the damage in the Osiris by 100%. Otherwise, these defensive builds, they would have never died on the field. They would have kept carry on. And now the third problem is they're introducing a lot of skill damage commanders, and that is all the new commanders that are being introduced, like Genghis Khan, like Saladin. So they are empowering the cavalry. Then we had the new three civilization, which they introduced Osman, and they introduced Baybars as well, which they are all nukers. They introduced Belisarius as well, but he's something else. So they're introducing a lot of nuking commanders in the game. While in these particular events, like Lost Kingdom and Ark of Osiris, where the damage is boosting and in favor so much of skill damage, it actually drops the utility of Richard and probably Charles as well. So this is the reason why I have to put him as a second place. I know when I started the game, and many people who follow me, they know I was an infantry commander, and I was a very hardcore infantry commander. Charles and Richard were my best. I was praising them until the end. But it's the event and the game, how is moving, is the way the game is moving, is that it also driven me to go so much on skill commanders. And right now, this is why I have 4 cavalry march and 1 archer march. For that reason, you cannot win by being defensive as much as you like. And on a side note, I prefer to be competitive. So rather than going with my preferences or what I like in the game, I like to play competitive. At the same time, I do videos for you guys, so obviously you guys want to see something that will help you win, something that you know, will help you get the job done, so to speak. So this is the main reason why Richard is as a second option. Also, the way I chose the 3 legendaries, you're gonna notice when I get to the third one, I also wanted to give a option for specialization commander. So obviously YSG is archer, Richard is infantry, and you're gonna know the third one is obviously cavalry. Richard, the most powerful healer in the game, like I mentioned. His best pair, you guys already know, is Charles Martel. He also does a very nice pair with Alexander, and we're gonna get to Alexander when I'm gonna mention about the honorable mentions. He's very, very defensive. Now, I advise him in defense as long as you are, let's say, under 2 million troops. So if you are under 2 million troops, I usually advise either Charles or either Richard, at least one of them in defense. If you have both of them, that's entirely up to you. You can have both of them. You're just a punching bag. I mean, you can just take damage for a very long time, but at some point, if you get too much damage, then you just go down. He's very, very good, like I mentioned, because this is the reason why I'm choosing the commanders the way I'm choosing them, for their utility. So he's very, very good in your garrison. He's very, very good on open field or, you know, battling. He's very, very defensive, and you can also do AoE farming with him. Not him specifically, but his healing. What I'm trying to say by that is that you use an AoE commander and then you benefit from his healing. That way you do not have to return home. So that way you can keep going and AoE farming, and you save time. So it's the utility of the commander that puts him on the top 3. You have healing, you have garrison, and not just your city garrison. Again, you can use it in flags, passes, fortresses, wherever. Maxed out legendaries, they are very, very powerful and very, very good. Again, that's, I mentioned the reason why I put him as a second. That's because of the Lost Kingdom buffs and the Ark of Osiris buffs, and the amount of nuking commanders that are being introduced in the game. Now I'm gonna go with the third option, so I can speed it up a little bit, which is Genghis Khan. So Genghis Khan is the third expertise legendary commander that I would advise you should work on. Now, why is the reason I put him as third, or why is the reason I chose him as the third from all these legendaries? There is 3 other legendaries cavalry commander, right? The reason is, like I mentioned on the other ones, the utility of the commanders, the fact that it can be maxed out by free-to-play or pay-to-win, and the reason I chose him is because of the amount of nuke he can pack together, the amount of nuke that he can bring together. So just the moment you maxed out his first skill, you have a guarantee 1700 damage factor. So that is really, really huge. That is really, really huge. 1700 damage factor without any expertise, and there is no other legendary commander that does so much damage in just one hit without expertise. He's the only one, so that makes him pretty unique. Then you gain cavalry march speed, you gain rage requirements reduction, which also it makes him very, very unique, as the rage requirements for his main skill, and then you reduce it by another 100 with his second skill. So there you go. After that, it packs more damage, which increase all damage. By all damage, I always just take in consideration the skill damage. That's what I care about when I read about all damage, because obviously there's other damages as well, like the counter, the normal attack. But I care about the skill damage when I read all damage, because that's like the main damaging ability of Cavalry. Increases all damage as long as you have over 70% in strength. This is his only downfall, because this one comes in effect when he has less than 50%. The rage restoration is additional. It says here grants an additional, so this one works all the time. The 25 rage restoration when attacked. But this is his downfall. So when his troops go under 70% and until his troops go under 50%, there is a 20% gap where he doesn't benefit on 30%. And this one is specify all damage. So it means cavalry attack, counter attack, and obviously the skill damage attack. But this one, when he goes under 50%, is specifically mentioned there that only skill damage bonus is increased by 30%. So it kinda need to master the play with Genghis Khan. I prefer to not keep him on the battlefield once I see him going on yellow. Once he goes on yellow, it means he's under 70%. I prefer to just refresh him, but again, it depends on the situation. Not all the time is you can actually refresh the march. And then obviously he has his very unique expertise, which you can do double damage and is very, very impactful. If you're lucky and you get this one going at the beginning, so when you start hitting a march, you get like the first two skills with Genghis Khan, you get lucky and you get doubles. That's so devastating that you'll have no idea. So yeah, he is the third commander that I would advise you to work as an expertise. Again, I had to classify him as third because he has no garrison capabilities. Right, 2 honorable mentions. Before I do the honorable mentions, you're probably wondering, bro, so if I work on Charles Martel, was that wrong? No, there was nothing wrong. Or if you worked on Frederick, was that wrong? There was nothing wrong. Every legendary commander, once he is maxed out, he's very, very useful. Or you would probably say, bro, I worked on Julius Caesar. Is that really wrong? No, there's nothing wrong on any legendary commander you work on. They all have utility. I just classified the top 3 legendaries that have the highest utility. So if you work on Mehmed, for example, or if you work on El Cid, there's nothing wrong with all these legendary commanders. They all have utility. I just classified the top 3 how useful they are, or the one that I would advise you should work on first. Right, 2 honorable mentions. Now the first honorable mention is Minamoto, and if I could do a top 3 for pay to win, Minamoto would be the first one. Now you're probably wondering why. You're probably saying I'm crazy, bro. I'm just not. In terms of utility and in terms of cost effect, to max out a legendary, you get to VIP 9, which is relatively fast. Any free-to-play gets there to VIP 9, and all it costs you is $200. Now that's the reason I didn't put him in the top 3, because free-to-play cannot max out Minamoto. Free-to-play, if they don't buy the VIP boxes, which is the only way you can obtain Minamoto to upgrade his skills, is only from the VIP boxes. So free-to-play cannot get that. So I cannot put him on the top 3. But I'll classify Minamoto as top 1 for pay to win. People don't pretty much have an idea how powerful Minamoto is in all aspects of the game. Defending, very, very powerful. Rallying, very, very powerful. PvP, very powerful. Taking barbarians or any barbarian objectives, very powerful. He has a ton of utility for $200 and maxed out legendary. He's very, very useful. It just, I would say that players don't actually explore the entire aspects. Again, as I mentioned, we used Minamoto and Genghis Khan in the Lost Kingdom to take down all the objectives, everything, starting from the ruined Crusader fortress until the ziggurat. All of them, we took them down with Minamoto and Genghis Khan, no other. Minamoto being primary because of the peacekeeping talents. Can Minamoto be used in defense? Hell yeah. Not necessarily primary. I would recommend him secondary. You want a crazy defense build? Go with Sun Tzu and Minamoto second. You have the skill, so you can power Minamoto, and then you have the Garrison from Sun Tzu. There's nothing wrong with that. Against a rally, you'll just kill those rallies. You're just going to demolish those rallies. His 4 skill increase, it grants you 10% chance to debuff the target by 30% damage in a rally. That's very, very powerful, or when someone is rallying you. And then he has his main skill, which is already, everyone knows how good this is. He buffs Cavalry as extra. So yes, in terms of value and utility, I would put Minamoto on the first for the play to win, and then would probably be YSG, and then the third one would be Richard. For pay to win, for free to play, I would say it's YSG, Richard, and then Genghis Khan. Now the second honorable mention is Alexander the Great. Now why would I put Alexander the Great as a honorable mention? Because he's freaking OP. But his only downfall is his talent trees. So they gave him the attack talent tree, which just by reading, this commander excels at damaging enemies with normal troops attacks. You'd probably think in your mind, oh my god, this guy's gonna demolish everything. I'm gonna kill everything. It's not actually working like that. So the attack talent tree has been proven so far that it's not so powerful. So you do get a lot of bonuses for your normal attacks, but it hasn't been proved to be as powerful as a defense talent tree for infantry, because Alexander, he's an infantry commander as well, so obviously you want to use for the troops that he's boosting the most. Still, so far the defense talent tree is the best for the infantry. So for that reason, I can only put him as a honorable mention, that he is a very OP commander, and he's very powerful in one thing: countering the cavalry. Because that's one problem that people have right now on the battlefield. There's like so many cavalry commanders, many players, they go out with like 3, I go with 4, with like 3 cavalry marchers, and it's starting to become a problem. Not necessarily for the archers, but in general, because there's too much cavalry. So Alexander, he's a very hard counter to cavalry, and not to mention when you unlock his expertise, oh my god, I don't want to think about that. Again, very powerful commander, but he cannot be primary, or at least he doesn't excel as good as primary commander. So I can only put him as a honorable mention. He can be maxed out by anyone. You just get him from the wheel, you summon him, and then you need universal sculptures. Right, well, this is my top 3, and I was trying to make it as short as possible. You guys let me know what you think about my top 3 expertise legendary commanders, because obviously I wanted to mention that at the beginning. I did. What do you think about that? Let me know in the comments below. Maybe we can debate about it. But this is my advice about the top 3 legendary commanders. Until next time, this is your boy Legend Ronnie signing off. Peace out, yo, and take care.